Yo, I got acupuncture on my integrative medicine rotation. I'll tell you all about it. And in the interest of being so for real, this rotation changed the way that I live my little life. But I'll talk about that later. Just like the previous videos about each rotation, recaps like this are to give people who are like interested in integrative medicine or are doing a rotation in that soon, a relatively quick kind of like summary of what you can expect. So this recap, as they all do, will include a list of things that I got to do and see, how my expectations for like the schedule and the content of the rotation matched reality, and kind of a description of the types of people that seem to gravitate towards this field, the personalities that you find in there. And that's just based on what I've seen. There will also be some bonus miscellaneous thoughts, and definitely stick around to the end for some super interesting bits of information, including a new habit of mine inspired by this rotation that I picked up during the month that I think everybody should be aware of and that I definitely did not learn about in regular like rest of med school. So if you're wondering what even is integrative medicine, I've never even heard of that before, no worries, I'll explain. You can think of integrative medicine as the bridge between conventional medicine and alternative medicine. Now, alternative medicine includes, but is not limited to, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, homeopathy, Reiki, naturopathy, and massage therapy. So for example, at my main teaching hospital, we have an integrative medicine center, which not every place has. We're lucky to have that. The medical director, she originally trained and was board certified in emergency medicine, practiced in that for a number of years, and then got interested, board certified, and eventually transitioned over to practicing integrative medicine and became the medical director of the Integrative Medicine Center. There are also naturopaths, right? NDs, N as in Nancy. One of them here actually specializes in oncologic naturopathy. We also have an acupuncturist and massage and Reiki practitioners as well. It's a cool setup because at our hospital, doctors and, all of the rest of the hospital, the main hospital, can refer to the Integrative Medicine Center, and our hospital offers employees some coverage for treatment and appointments at the Integrative Medicine Center. Integrative medicine practice is evidence-based. It has more of, I would say, a focus or emphasis on optimizing nutritional status, and it's a happy medium and soft landing for many patients. But to be more specific, what I mean by that is that it's a really important connecting service for people who have had, for example, limited success with conventional therapies and want to explore, dip their toes into maybe alternative therapies with proper oversight and specially trained staff, near right there at a main hospital campus. And it's also, equally important for those who have been in the alternative space primarily, but recognize that sometimes, conventional treatments are necessary and they want to have just what it is, integrative care. They're integrating, bringing together in a nice little hybrid situation, conventional and alternative therapies. So patients come in for, tons of reasons, but primarily what I saw the most of were people with chronic pain, chronic fatigue, movement disorders, digestive diseases, cancer treatment side effects, and depression and anxiety. So like I mentioned before, this is a month-long thing for, the rotation. And each week was broken up in the same way. Each day I was with a different provider. Mondays I was with the acupuncturist. Tuesdays I was with the oncologic naturopath. Wednesday it was a naturopath that focused a bit more on like community and public health. And Thursday, general internal medicine medical director person. And I just want to emphasize something that was so nice was this center was so peaceful. It was such a little bubble of calm in what, the rest of the hospital is generally just kind of all over the place, kind of a mess, kind of stinky, kind of smelly, whatever. But here it's like, no, it smelled good. They had like ambient, nice, chill music in the background, or maybe some like nature sounds. It was such a great change of pace compared to like a regular hospital floor or office. All right, so then talking about what I got to do and see. Like I mentioned, acupuncture. This was awesome. I mean, obviously I'm not trained in it, so I didn't do it for any of the patients, right? Duh. But I did get to have a treatment done myself. I got to have a session, and I really didn't know until shadowing them. Like I'd heard about it. I feel like most people have like heard about acupuncture. So I get there, right? Because I'm getting it done myself, and I'm like, oh, I carry a lot of tension in my shoulders, neck, jaw. I get a lot of tension headaches, and my acupuncturist guy that I was working with, he was like, okay, sounds good, and he literally would go around and do different needles and the different points, right? And a lot of them in my face. And I'll put up a picture of what I look like. I look like a little pincushion. They dim the lights, they put on some nice ambient music. And after the pins are in, obviously like it kind of, pinches a little bit when some of them go in, some of them you don't feel at all. And then they give you like a little call button in case you need them. But other than that, you get the pins in and you lay back and you relax for half an hour. And then they come back after 30 minutes and then they take out the pins and that's it. And it's just like 30 minutes of you just kind of relaxing. I mean, yeah, you have pins in you, but really generally you don't feel them. There's one that I was like, ooh, that is like, I can feel that one a little bit, but it was right in one of my really like tight areas. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then by the end of the 30 minutes, it felt pretty good. And it was so funny. I thought it was hilarious. So many people would like take naps, right? You get the pins in and you leave, and by the time you come back, they're like, they're snoring, dude. It's like, man, people do not picture, like, if you haven't done this before, never in a million years would you guess that you're going to take a nap while you have pins stuck all over you. There are like very, very few contraindications to getting acupuncture. So it's something that people can do. And there's literature out there supporting acupuncture for treatment of things like, chronic pain in certain areas. Even like a guy came in with an article printed out. Literally a patient comes in, he has this printed out article from PubMed, and he's like, here it is saying that acupuncture can help with atrial fibrillation symptoms. And because I get, these runs of AFib and my heart rate can get pretty high and it makes me feel pretty, yucky. I saw this article, I looked this up, and I want to try it. This man has not had a run of AFib that caused him symptomatic discomfort since he started getting these treatments. And he was like talking to me about it. He's like, it has been so nice because they were, putting me on lots of other medications trying to manage the symptoms, and like they helped a little bit, but this helps more. And I don't have the, the side effects of the other medications. Acupuncture, you're in, you do your 30 minutes and you're out and you go about your day. There's no downtime. Anyway, that was like highlight of stuff I got to, do or see. Other stuff that I got to do was mostly sitting in on visits, of course, writing occasional notes, not a lot. They had like an abbreviated focused physical exam that I would do sometimes. It mostly focused on, looking at nails, and I had no idea how much you could tell about someone's nutritional status just by their nails and their tongue appearance. You learn about some stuff related to nails and tongue in rest of med school, but like they're into it over there. They're into the nails and the tongue stuff over, that sounded weird. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, and then a longitudinal thing was, they have you do a presentation at the end of the rotation. And one topic that I had heard about was pretty up and coming in the integrative medicine sphere is psychedelics. And so I kind of like, dipped my toes into it. I'm looking stuff up. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And so I did my presentation on psychedelics and their increasing relevance to integrative medicine practice in the near future. Really cool stuff. And if anyone wants, my PowerPoint on that, let me know, because I spent a lot of time on that and I thought it was pretty good. So hit me up if you want me to post it in the description box, I will. Okay, anyway, so other things that I saw included things like nutcracker syndrome, POTS, which I've talked about before. I think I talked about it in the PEDS rotation video. So if you haven't watched that one, I'll put it up here. But postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, chronic regional pain syndrome, that sucks, and a bunch of CSID. I don't know if anyone else heard of this a lot, or maybe it's just I've been living under a rock, but I never learned about CSID, which, by the way, it stands for congenital sucrase isomaltase deficiency. I'd never heard about it. And then all of a sudden, literally day one, 2 of our patients had CSID, and I was like, what is this? And it's actually fairly common in certain populations. So I feel like we should be learning about that in med school. There's a lot of, that's a theme in this rotation. I don't know, it's very strange to me. So I'm like, people here have this, we should know. Anyway, also saw SIBO, S-I-B-O, so small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Lots of people who were in the middle of or immediately post chemo trying to manage, pain and symptoms. Lots of anxiety, depression, lots of thyroid issues, AFib, and then multi-system complaints, kind of full body, just people have no idea what's going on and they're like, no doctors are taking me seriously, please help. Or just getting sick a lot and they don't really know why. Just about any condition that wasn't responding to conventional therapies. And in a lot of cases, a lot of these people had to pay out of pocket because unfortunately, while some integrative medicine stuff is covered by insurances, a lot of it still isn't. So in some cases, people wanted a different approach to their health, but had to pay out of pocket for it, and that's terrible. I hate that. So going into this rotation, though, my expectations for the schedule and the content, I expected or hoped, I guess, to participate maybe in some Reiki, some yoga, some, I don't know, massage therapy. But cupping was one thing that was on there, and I was like, oh, dope, I would love to learn how cupping works. That's something you hear about again, and you don't really know how that goes in real life for people who go get it. So I was kind of bummed that, you know, those services like the massage and the therapeutic facials and the cupping and the Reiki, those were all like, they were part of the integrative medicine center there, but they weren't part of like the clinic I was in. Those were like separate classes and courses that I unfortunately didn't get to experience. But I was very happy to be able to get more exposed to herbalism, and most of all, get more familiar with all the different supplements out there. Because for example, internal medicine, people will come in and they're like, here's my meds list. And sometimes if they're on top of it, they'll have their supplements listed in their medications, but a lot of people like don't think to add their supplements that they take to their medications list. You'll get these people that come in on the floors and they have this medications list a mile long, and half of them are supplements you've never heard of, and you're like, what? And so then you have to figure out, like, are any of these interacting? Yeah, it can be a real like dumpster fire trying to sort all that out and not knowing what half the things are and having to look up each one and da. So that was awesome to get more familiar with the different supplements and why people take them and how they complement medications they're already taking, or maybe how they interact in a bad way and maybe you need to advise that they stop. So very valuable to learn more about that. Now I know like where to go for reliable information about supplements, because important to know, the FDA does not regulate supplements. So some of them are complete garbage and don't even have what they say they have in them. Okay, so moving on to the schedule though, amazing schedule. Could not have asked for a better one. Maximum 8 hours a day. I think I had like 2 8-hour days, at least one half day a week. And the best part, I always had Fridays off. So every weekend was a long weekend. And it was especially nice coming off of like step 2 dedicated and taking step 2. And if you, I probably look so tired in it, but like the video about that, I'll put it up here for the link. But man, I mean, you see how I was a stress case. It was a bad time. So then going into integrative medicine was so nice. I felt like a girl in the world again. I was like, this is what it's like to be alive again. This is great. And then types of people, personalities in this specialty. I was really excited about this one because they give off a very specific vibe. You're gonna be like, you went way overboard with this. I don't care. I'm gonna be a little extra for a second because this is it. Picture this, okay? I want you to like close your eyes, okay? Think of, in books or movies, the misunderstood hermit, the recluse, living at the edge of town, but then you, the main character, obviously, catch a glimpse of them one like morning and you're like, all the townspeople say they're not, but like, I don't know, kind of want to go say hi. So you scurry over there, and this hermit is the nicest person that you've ever met. There's a cat that loves you from the second you walk in the door and curls up on your lap. Then the hermit shows you their garden and the birds are singing and they brought you some tea and you're just chatting it up and you're thinking, they're so great. I don't know why I didn't like know about them earlier. Come say hi earlier. That is integrative medicine. Chillest, nicest people ever. Also similar vibes, okay? Unrelated, but people who make prosthetics for animals. And hear me out, people who read nonfiction in aesthetic old libraries with like vaulted ceilings in fall. Also similar vibes, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? I like these people, especially since they're super willing to teach, because at least at my school, they're such a sleeper of a rotation. They don't get flooded with students. They're also definitely the overall like happiest seeming group of providers that I've come across. They just seem to enjoy the work that they do more than like the average person that I've worked with on rotations. Moving into miscellaneous thoughts now. To be in this field, you cannot have a big ego though, okay? Because you're misunderstood by most people, the public and the rest of the medical community. Most of them have tons of misconceptions about this field. So integrative medicine people are constantly battling these misconceptions, which I mean, I guess most of medicine, you have to battle misconceptions, but I feel like it was especially prevalent for integrative med people. Also super interesting, probably like, well, I guess it makes sense now that I think about it, but 90 to 95% of the patients that I saw were female. Almost no dudes to be seen. Circling back to like when I was talking about supplements and how some of them are garbage because they're not regulated and blah, 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 blah. But like even more than that, supplements, people tend to think that they're like, oh, I'll just take it and it's only gonna do me good, right? Like, no, people assume that there are no risks with taking supplements, but there are. Like if you take too much of one or if you take one and it interacts with a different supplement or with a different med that you're taking or with high amounts of certain foods that you ingest. Like there's a bunch of different factors that can make a supplement unsafe for you. So it's really important to like do your due diligence and research and talk with your PCP and your integrative med person if you see one. Supplements are not without risk. Please, please, please check interactions. And for the love of all that is good in this world, include your supplements in your medication lists. If you want to see your doctor, or if you're in the hospital and they're like, okay, what medications are you taking? Don't forget to include your supplements, okay? They can really make a difference. It's important. Now we're going to talk about stuff that I learned on this rotation that I think is really interesting and everyone should know, and I should have learned, I feel like, a lot of this stuff in med school so far, like in preclinical lectures, but I didn't, and I learned it in integrative medicine. So I'm gonna share this stuff with you in case you're in med school and you haven't learned this either. Most people know that naltrexone, a lot of people have heard of naltrexone, that's something that helps maintain abstinence in people who have an opioid addiction after they've detoxed. It helps you not relapse. But what I didn't know until this rotation is that there's actually this low dose form of naltrexone, which was prescribed pretty often in integrative medicine for inflammation reduction and reducing symptom severity in Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, lupus, fibromyalgia, long COVID, and complex regional pain syndrome, among other things. There's, I'm sure if you look it up more, you'll find more things that this can help. But I was surprised. I had no idea that naltrexone had this anti-inflammatory action and could help reduce symptom severity. Is it gonna cure you? No. But is it gonna take a good edge off of symptoms if you have some of these conditions? There's a pretty good chance. Second thing I learned, if you're gonna get a probiotic, and by the way, not everyone needs a probiotic, but if you get one with at least 10 strains and at least 10 million colony forming units, CFUs. Third thing I learned, zinc and leptin are proportionally associated. That is your I'm full hormone. So if you are zinc deficient, if your zinc levels are low, then your leptin levels also tend to be low. So you feel less satisfied after meals, so you feel hungrier. If you're zinc deficient, you could feel hungrier and possibly be more prone to overeating and put on weight. I did not know that. Does that mean take tons and tons of zinc? No, it just means if you're zinc deficient and you're constantly hungry, maybe incorporating more zinc into your diet can help you feel more satisfied and less hungry all the time. Thing number 4 I learned, statins. We learned a lot about statins in med school, and a lot of people are familiar with statins. Tons and tons and tons of people take them. The same statins prescribed for lowering cholesterol also have anti-inflammatory effects. That is definitely not an effect that we learn about or focus on in med school. My personal favorite thing that I learned and I picked up and have had success with personally is magnesium. Now, for background, I tend to get tension headaches fairly often. I carry a lot of tension in the shoulders, the neck, jaw, and it doesn't help that I'm literally shrimped over like this doing Anki 24/7, of course, but I also tend to have trouble relaxing enough to fall asleep at night. And with the weird rotation schedules that we sometimes get, those can cause some digestive issues. And then I'm sitting there in one of the naturopath appointments and they're talking about magnesium. And they're talking about how, well, it acts as a muscle relaxant. It can help with tension headaches. It can help with digestive issues. It can also take the edge off of chronic fatigue. In particular, magnesium citrate is the form that is supposed to be the most helpful for the stuff that I was struggling with. At the Integrative Medicine Center, they have this stuff, a powder form of magnesium citrate called Magnesium Calm. And they have it on hand at the center and they prescribe it all the time, and it's actually pretty affordable. So I got some. I had to go get it. This is what it looks like. It's actually really yummy. What is it? Raspberry lemon. Highly recommend. It's a good flavor. But there's a bigger version, and next time I'm gonna go ahead and get the big one. Started doing like a couple of tablespoons at night before going to bed, and I was impressed. Did it 100% fix every single issue I had? Of course not. Do I notice a difference? Yes. Unequivocal yes. And it's enough of a difference for me that I don't feel the need to look into other headache or sleep treatments or medications. Prior to starting to take this, I used to get about, maybe 1, sometimes 2 tension headaches a week, and they would get nasty. I've been taking that magnesium calm stuff for like about 6 weeks now. And since starting to take it, I literally have not had 1 headache, which is nuts. I'm very happy about that. For anyone who gets any of these same kind of yucky symptoms and are curious about this magnesium stuff I'm taking, I'll leave a link to it in the description box. You can get off Amazon. But I really hope this video was helpful, and if it was for you, please let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to share this around with your medically inclined friends and family as well. That helps me know that this content is something that you're enjoying. Thank you all so much for watching. Love you all. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and catch you next time.